Hello all. These are few cardboard rolls which I've cut into 5 pieces. You can see here. These are cardboard rolls and I've cut into small bangle size. Now this is the first piece which I've got. I've taken some clay, rolled it into a thin sheet so that we can wrap it around the bangle. So I'm making a thin sheet of clay. Roll it and make it as thin as possible. Now we can take a small cutter or a knife and just cut it as a strip like this. Okay, we've made a thin strip. Now we are going to wrap it around the bangle. Just because it's cardboard, it will not automatically stick. I'm making it a little more thin. So I've just rolled it and made it a little more thin. Now I'm going to wrap it around the bangle. Now I'll apply little glue onto the cardboard base and I'll be wrapping it around the bangle. Now let's take the clay strip and just stick it and tightly wrap it, and the ends needs to be pressed like I've done, and the extra clay I've just removed it. Now I'm just smoothing using water on my fingertips. Now these are the bangles. Once it's smoothened, I've just applied a slurry of brown clay onto it. Now that's done. Now this is the first bangle design which I'm going to make, and this is the mold. This is a jhumka mold which I'm using here. I'm just pressing the desired amount of clay because I don't require the entire jhumka mold. I only require half of that jhumka mold. Now I'm just pressing to get the design. So this is the design which I'm looking for. So we'll make more beads like these. So that we can stick it around that bangle base. Now I'm going to use this small refill end to make a design like this in the center of that bead. So I've done that. Now I'm going to apply little glue onto the bangle base and stick it around the bangle. I'm going to stick it around the bangle. So just apply glue and place it one by one. Just make sure that it's stuck properly. So this is how we'll have to stick it around the bangle to give this design. Now we need to make more beads, around 3 beads more, so that we can fill it around the bangle. Now I'm just keeping that. Now one more bead is required. So this is how the bangle looks once it's done. So let's leave it for drying now. And this is dried, and this is how it looks once the bangle is completely dried. Now let's go for the second design. For the second design, I'm using this lotus mold. Now it's a small lotus stud mold. Now this is the design which we are looking for. So we'll make more of these beads and we'll decide how to fix it. So I'm just checking how we can work it out. Now more of these lotus beads. Once few of these beads are made, let's see how we can arrange it. You can arrange the lotus beads in this way, or you can also place it like this. So there's various ways. You can be creative and you can plan accordingly your design. So I was just checking how we can work it out on the bangle base. Let's make more beads so that we can wrap the entire bangle with the lotus beads. After few beads are made, let's see how we can fix it around the bangle base. So there are few ways which you can use it. So this is one way. You can also do it like this. So I've planned to fix it in this way as I'm showing here. That is first bead, second bead upside down. So this is how I'm going to wrap it around the bangle base. I'm going to stick it around the bangle base like this. So like we did for our previous bangle, we are going to stick it using a strong adhesive. Here I'm using Fevicol. You can use any other adhesive of your preference. One as it's shown around this bangle base. I would always advise that the bangle base should be dried before we start doing this designing. Now whatever beads I made, I've stuck it around the bangle base. Now we also require few beads here. So I've made 3 more beads and I'm sticking it. Now as you can see, there's no place to stick the third bead. So I cannot fit the third bead. I tried to bring the lotus beads together so that I can get some space to stick the third bead, but it was not possible in that gap. So what I did is that I used a Lakshmi mold and I made a small Lakshmi there and stuck it there. Okay, so this is how the bangle looks once it's dried. We have not colored it, we'll be coloring it later. I put a video of the coloring as well. Now this is the final look of the bangle once it's dried. Now let's move on to our third design. So I'm taking the third bangle base. Now I'm using this gemstone mold which I've got. So I'm using this molds. When you have molds like these, the process becomes very easy, especially if you're a terracotta jewelry designer and you also do sales, then this really helps. But for beginners, I would suggest that you don't spend so much money on the molds. You can use some handmade designs, like you can cut small squares using a square cutter, design it and then stick it onto the bangles. So you can use handmade designs. But if you are a terracotta jewelry designer and you do have few molds, then you can use those molds and explore your creativity. So similarly, I'm going to stick it around the bangle base like I did for the first two designs. Just stick it around the bangle base. Now this is the final look of the bangle. Let's keep it for drying. And this is how the bangle looks once it's dried. Okay. Now let's go for the fourth design. Now this is also a simple design. I'm using this drop shape mold. This is a bead mold. And this mold I'm going to use to make the bangle design. So it's the same way. I'm just going to stick it around the bangle. I just want the drop shape, so I'm just taking the drop shape portion of that mold. So one by one we'll make beads like we did for the previous bangles, and we are going to stick it around the bangle base. Now our next design is also ready. In between, I've just stuck a small bead just to give it a screw type look, and this is how the bangle looks once it's dried. Okay, now let's go for the next design. Now this is a comparatively bigger size piece of cardboard which I've wrapped in clay. and it will be something like a Kada bangle. So I've taken this mold, a stud mold of flower shape, and I'm just pressing it gently onto the mold and taking this flower out. Now I've got a stick like this, a small rod like that, so I've just pressed in the center, and using this I'm just enhancing the petals, that is using this tool, and this is how it's going to look. Now this is a bigger, a broader bangle compared to the others which I've made. So we'll make more of these and then stick it around. I will also put the coloring video so you can understand how I'll be coloring the pieces and making different bangles. Now this roll which I've used, that is the cardboard rolls which I've cut into this bangle shapes, is using the remaining part. Once you have used the kitchen tissue, the center part of the kitchen tissues, that's what I've recycled into bangles like these. So I've made a base using that. So I've got around, from one roll I've got around 6 to 7 pieces. If you want to reduce the size as well, you can cut it into thinner bangle sheets and it will look like this. Okay, so that forms the base. If you have cardboard strips, you can use that also to form the shapes and then wrap around with clay and use it. So these are small things at home which you can recycle, the old bangles or the cardboard sheets like this, which you can recycle and make your own jewelry. You just have to be creative and you have to explore how you can use it. This is how it looks once we have attached all the flower molds around it. And this is once it has been dried. And these are the bangles which we made today, the 5 designs. I'll also post the videos how to color these bangles as well. Hope you like the video. Thank you for watching and thank you for your valuable time. Happy crafting.